Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Matthew Gibson. I'm Executive Director of Virginia Humanities. I'm thrilled to have you all here tonight to celebrate Virginia Humanities' 50th anniversary through this birthday bash. But before we start, we need to remember a great friend of Virginia Humanities. Also a great friend of the Commonwealth, and of course to the Universe of Poetry, Nikki Giovanni. Nikki needs no introduction as a poet, as an educator, certainly as a speaker, as an activist, but she had a very special relationship with Virginia Humanities because she also believed deeply in service. She served on our board from 1990 to 1996, and since that time, whenever we would approach her with any idea, any programmatic concept, anything we might ask her to do with us, she would always embrace us with open arms because that's the kind of person that Nikki was. During COVID, actually, she was instrumental in leading our Roselle Schul Fund initiative. The Roselle Schul Fund is there to provide support, financial support, to women doing work about and by Virginia women. And Nikki was instrumental in helping get that off the ground and actually helped us break into the foray of doing Zoom conversations with a great conversation in 2020 with MacArthur Genius Fellow Tressie McMillan Cottom. And so to see these two incredible people online together, and of course Tressie McMillan Cottom fangirling over Nikki Giovanni, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And while we often think that, we often practice that we have a moment of silence for people who've left this world in their body and in their spirit, I don't think that's Nikki Giovanni's character. And so what I'd invite us all to do tonight is actually, for the person that Nikki was, for the gift of poetry and spirit that she brought to all of us, and to the life just completely well lived, I would love for us all to give a celebratory round of applause. Tonight, we are so thankful to be hosted here at the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. Dr. Andrea Douglas, the executive director of this center, and her great staff have made this place and its mission, I believe, an invaluable asset to this community. And not just this community. When we start talking about conversations around race and justice, they are a leader in that conversation in this city, in this state, and absolutely in this nation. We've been lucky to be partners with them for many years. Certainly, they've been a grantee of ours for many years, and I can't imagine a better place to kick off our 50th anniversary than in this space with this purpose. So let's give a round of applause to the Jefferson School, please. I'll occupy the center now. So in 1974, the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities and Public Policy, Virginia Humanities, was founded with a simple mission: to connect people and ideas, to explore the human experience, to support and to bring the humanities to all Virginians. Our founding director, though, Rob Vaughn, who was here for 43 years as the founding director, also said, mission's not enough. We have to think about purpose. What are we trying to do with this mission? What do we try to do with this organization? For many of us, we're often caught and contained by our subjectivity, often contained by our own sort of interior monologues and even dialogues with ourselves. The humanities, I believe, provide a level of courage, a foundation of courage for people to actually express those vocally, either in written or spoken word. And not only that, they provide a platform, hopefully, and a seed for curiosity, so that we can actually listen to the stories and expressions and life experiences of others. Fundamentally, this is what Rob believed in, is this act of listening. He took a listening tour when he first became director in the early 1970s to rural and urban Virginia, bringing groups of people together to hear what their concerns were, what the issues they faced were, and how the humanities might help navigate those issues. And fundamentally, Rob believed that the humanities could actually instill in all of us a simple respect and understanding of our shared humanity. We now today carry on that legacy of listening, and hopefully of seeding curiosity, and hopefully of supporting courage for generations to come. Since we were born in 1974, a couple years after I was actually born, we started out as a grant-making organization, and also to organize public lectures in the humanities. That early work laid the foundation for what I believe are incredibly strong, vibrant programs that we have today. Encyclopedia Virginia, With Good Reason Radio, the Virginia Folklife Program, certainly the Festival of the Book and the Center for the Book and Book Arts, which is actually just downstairs. And of course, through our Education and Community Initiatives Office, we're able to engage communities that we often don't come in contact with across this great state. And we're also able to engage and support educators in their mission to teach the next generation of students about history, about literature, about the humanities. And along with that work, the elevation of local stories to statewide audience, sometimes even national audiences, has become a hallmark of the work that we try to do. Because if we just do things isolated in one place without connecting that to other people, we're failing in our mission to build bridges. And obviously, our programs help to mend those bridges when they're broken. Not only that, and not just our programs and the audiences that we reach, but the fundamental component of our success is based on collaborations and relationships. If you have a humanities council, a humanities organization like ours that lives as an island, then you have failed and your mission will wither. So whether we're working with libraries, museums, cultural organizations, historical societies, those people, those organizations, those individuals, they help shape the network of what the humanities are in this incredible state. I'll also say that we've always been a statewide organization. That is what our mission is. Certainly we're based here within the university, within the city, but our work extends to every corner of this state. I don't know if you've ever driven from here to the corner of Lee County, or from here to the Eastern Shore, or waded through the traffic on maybe a Monday afternoon going up to D.C., or not D.C., Northern Virginia. It's a tough place to get around if you're based in Charlottesville. And so as a way for our 50th anniversary to think about the next 50 years, because we want to look forward, not necessarily just back, we're looking at a way to be embedded in communities in ways that we couldn't do if we just stayed here. So we're developing a series of regional humanities centers across the Commonwealth. The first one we launched was at WHRO Public Media in Hampton Roads in August of this year. And then the next one, the number 2, was at UVA-Wise just 2 weeks ago. And I want to thank Eric Rivers and Lewis Nelson and Tucker Lemon and Larissa Smith, members of our board, members of UVA, members of our staff, for actually being there to launch that center. Through these centers, we will be building others across the Commonwealth. Virginia Humanities will become that platform so that the local stories that get funded by, and the purpose of these centers is really to help bring local funds from Virginia Humanities to really have locally designated and supported funding to develop grants and programs by, about, and for the people who live in those regions. If we're able to do that successfully, Virginia Humanities can become that platform for connecting those stories to other places across the Commonwealth and actually getting a sense of what the identity of this, the multiplicity of this identity of this place really is. So I invite you all to keep apprised of where we're developing those centers. Not only that, I invite you all from tonight over the next year to be a part of our 50th anniversary celebrations. So while we're inaugurating the celebrations tonight, of course in March of 2025, the third week, we're usually around the third week, we've got the Virginia Festival of the Book. We bring hundreds of authors to you so you can learn, engage, maybe read, maybe talk. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll, of course, be celebrating the 50th at that festival as well. And then in April, I can't think of a better person to initiate and inaugurate our Commonwealth Lecture in the Humanities at the Altria Theater in Richmond, New York Times columnist and author David Brooks, who wrote actually an interesting essay in the Atlantic recently about how the Ivy League broke this country. I don't know if I agree with it, but I think you should all read it. It's a fascinating article. Anyway, he will be at Altria Theater in April in conversation with one of our great board members, Barbara Ham-Lee, who also runs a podcast and show in Hampton Roads at WHRO. And then last but not least, in May, we will be having a regional humanities celebration at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Virginia Beach. So please stay apprised of those celebrations, of the Regional Humanities Center developments, of course, what all of our great programs have been doing by going to virginiahumanities.org. That's your action step. Lastly, and finally, I want to thank everyone for being a part of this journey of the humanities. Staff, please, if you're staff, raise your hand. We don't do this work without staff. Current and former board members, and please, again, raise your hand. Partners, grantees, fellows, certainly sponsors, you all make what we do happen. Thank you all for being a part of that journey. Thank you all for providing your energy, your time, your passion, your resources, so that we can not just be a humanities council, an organization, we can actually be more of a movement and a hub for a network of humanistic endeavors across this state, which I believe more than anything, I've said this before, when we think about one of the greatest deficits in this nation, a deficit of empathy, I believe when we're at our best, we can actually repair that deficit. So without further ado, I want to then now introduce you to a 50th anniversary film segment that we put together to celebrate this 50th anniversary year, but also to think about the 50 years ahead. So thank you very much.
For 50 years, Virginia Humanities has championed the change makers. Not just the thinkers, but the doers.
The trailblazers who build bridges between our cultures. The people whose curiosity, creativity, and passion push us forward.
Honoring the vibrant voices, traditions, and cultures that define Virginia's past, present, and future.
We support them. We believe in them.
Because they are helping us all build a stronger, more informed, and more engaged Commonwealth. The humanities connect our communities and bring us together.
We see a future where they continue to unite us as individuals, where future generations are empowered to lead with empathy, knowledge, and resilience.
Ensuring that the diverse narratives of yesterday and today build a more thoughtful and civically engaged tomorrow.
Together, we can build that future for all Virginians. We can use the humanities as a catalyst for positive change.
Strengthening communities and enriching lives across the Commonwealth. We invite you to join us in making this vision a reality.
This is how we build a foundation.
This is how we will build a foundation for the future.
Good evening. I'm so glad to see all of you here to help us celebrate Virginia Humanities, to really mark this 50th birthday of a state humanities council that has made so many important strides, has been transforming our Commonwealth, and has been impacting really our entire nation with the incredible work that's been advanced in order to elevate humanities. We think about the half century that has passed since this Virginia Humanities State Council emerged. One of the things I think is notable is that Virginia Humanities was born out of the efforts to consider at a time during the 60s, particularly when legislation created the state councils and the National Endowment for the Humanities and National Endowment for the Arts. It was during the height of the space race. It was when the nation was seeing more and more investment in what we would come to call STEM, science and engineering and mathematics and technological disciplines, that this nation figured out that it was important also to invest on the human side of our flourishing and not just technical things. And that led to the Virginia Humanities State Council, which took that mission and has been executing at that level to ensure that we are not just attentive to our humanity, but that we are deliberate in fostering the ability of communities across the Commonwealth to be able to understand more about our history, to be able to tell their stories, and to engage one another in one of the most important enterprises that we can pursue, and that is our human experience. That's what's happened over the past half century. And I think that vision was very prescient because the need and the urgency for attending to that human side of our society has never been more important. It's never become more critical. The second thing I think about is the way Virginia Humanities, and I say this as an academic, who works in a disciplinary environment, that Virginia Humanities has been delivering humanities in order to move certainly in ways that coordinates with academic institutions. But in fact, most of the work that happens in Virginia Humanities is with communities. They're not on a college campus. It's not a university. It's people who are in organizations, who are in civic groups, or who are artists, who are creators, in communities, in families, in civic networks across Virginia. And I think sometimes if we are reading the public discourse about humanities and its value, that conversation tends to happen almost strictly in terms of asking, well, what should students major in on college campuses? And sometimes what that conversation misses is that humanities is not something that belongs just to academic circles. It's not something that happens only in the lives of students. In fact, what Virginia Humanities has been creating as value is demonstrating that humanities is about our entire life cycle. Most of the engagement that happens with humanities happens way beyond the lifespan or the segment of time that people spend in school. It's what happens every day of their lives. It's how they pursue the arts. It's how they generate the power of creativity in order to impact their society and to inspire people. And the State Council has been really exemplary in supporting the work of communities. And that certainly includes academics, but it goes far beyond that to touch the lives of people across their entire lifespan. And it's everything from the K-12 students who use Encyclopedia Virginia and their teachers to advance their learning as young people, to the Festival of the Book that you've heard about, to the arts organizations that are able to thrive, to the communities who are able to generate more and more encounters with understanding the histories of their experiences. And the last thing that I consider when I think about this half century that has passed and the way that Virginia Humanities has been executing on its mission is to really understand the importance of the power of humanities to bring people together, to understand one another, to encounter one another. And that happens through the power of conversations. It happens through the power of being moved by what our executive director, Matthew Gibson, was just talking about with Nikia Giovanni and her poetry. Or you think about the way people experience what you see here in this school, and that you look at images and you encounter art, or you're able to encounter some way of that history has been captured through the media that are here. People have to be informed, and they are. And people love to be moved. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you come from. And that's the power of humanities. And I think as we move forward in the society that at least has seen increases in what people have called polarization and weaponizing ways that people often disagree about very important issues, I think that the power of conversations, the power that happens when people gather in order to encounter their stories and other stories, that power is going to become more valuable, is going to become more critical, is going to become more transformative for our society, for our world. And that is at the heart of what Virginia Humanities has been leading and has been delivering for Virginia for half a century. As that work continues, I think we're going to see more and more lives change because of it, and it's made me very proud to chair this board, to be a member of the board, and to just be part of the amazing magic that happens because of all the work that Virginia Humanities is doing and because of the support that all of you have given in different ways that you have. So let's be festive this evening and all the incredible change and challenges that fills the headlines around us every day. This is a time where we can celebrate, and it's an example of being able to find joy, being able to identify value and to elevate it so that we can really appreciate the incredible work that's going forward. So happy birthday to Virginia Humanities. Congratulations to all of you if you've been formally part of Virginia Humanities, if you've participated in it by encountering the amazing programming, if you've supported it through your charitable giving, however, or if you've received a grant that has enabled you to do the work of humanities. Let's celebrate all of this and look forward to another 50 years of incredible transformation. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Matthew and Sylvester for kicking off tonight and quite literally setting the stage. We thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here with all of you. My name is Jessica Harris, and I serve as the Artistic Director of Empowered Players. Empowered Players is a Fluvanna-based, nonprofit arts education program designed to make a difference in the community through the arts. We believe firmly in everything that Virginia Humanities espouses, and certainly share what you shared earlier about the importance of using the arts to heal. So we are so thrilled to be here tonight. To achieve that mission, we offer free and accessible arts education for students in rural Virginia and in Charlottesville. And tonight, I'm thrilled to share that 4 of our students are here to share original pieces for you all. We're getting some debuts tonight. Can we give it up for our students? A few weeks ago, Ray reached out to me as he was coordinating this event, and we had this idea to bring together storytellers around a key theme. So that those themes were really centered around Virginia and celebrating arts and humanities. And we're all familiar with the Virginia is for lovers, right? Virginia is for lovers. We invited our students to think about what Virginia is for them. So we asked them to write reflections, poems, essays around Virginia is for, and invited them to insert their own ideas, or my Virginia is, and they'd fill in the blank there. And what better way to celebrate an organization dedicated to uplifting arts, humanities, and culture than hearing directly from the stars of the next generation about what this state's rich tapestry means to them. These pieces you hear tonight, as I mentioned, are original just for tonight, so you will hear them tonight and tonight only. This is a very special event, and we are thrilled that the 50th birthday of Virginia Humanities can be a time for them to kick off these pieces. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the stage Lizzie Brissett from Charlottesville to kick off our storytelling. Let's give it up for Lizzie.
Virginia is for storytellers. My whole family are storytellers in their own fashion. My parents tell stories of our childhood, and theirs, of course, in the good old-fashioned way, talking. My dad's always a bit dramatic, and as a young man performed in plays in his high school and college. He did all kinds of plays, from musicals to Shakespeare. My mom is very much the kind of person who somehow has an abundance of stories. Her well of stories never runs dry. She'll tell you about all kinds of things, from how cute the French couple she saw in France was, or the many times she got sent to the principal's office for misbehaving as a child, which I think she just told us to scare us out of mischief. My two older sisters and younger brother all share the same way of storytelling through their art. They make such beautiful drawings and paintings about a world in which new species and magic exist. Or they tell the story of our world, but they tell the parts that are overlooked, the vibrant and colorful parts. My older sister, Abby, paints beautiful scenes that mostly come from her imagination. My other sister, Sophie, will spend hours drawing animated characters like Winnie the Pooh or Tigger. And my brother spends most of his free time creating sketches of beings from another world. Even though I must say I'm kind of creeped out by lots of them, his imagination never ceases to wow me. I, on the other hand, take after my father, who's a bit of an actor. And just like the muses in the beloved movie Hercules, I sing and dance my way through telling stories. That's why Virginia has been such an amazing place to grow up. Virginia has provided me with many opportunities to test out my skills and learn my limits. And when I trip and fall, I have people who pick me up and tell me to try again. And I don't think it's just my family that tells stories. I believe that all of Virginia are storytellers. If we look in our own town of Charlottesville, we see the paintings covering the buildings, or we'll see the people who put on productions like Miss Jessica and empowered players, or the signs that litter Virginia that read love in all different art styles, or even the natural trails in the Rivanna River tell a story if you really pay attention. And of course, there's the downtown mall, which has all kinds of stories to tell, from the shops to the people who inhabit it. Then a bit further out, there's the Richmond Ballet. There's also music played by various artists at JPJ or the Pavilion. And finally, all the different art museums around, around Virginia, like the McGuffey Art Center. That's what my Virginia is. It's a place to tell your story, because you'll be heard, and that's a special thing. So when somebody is ready to tell you their story, will you listen? Will you pay attention? I hope you will.
I've told my students this before. I do not apologize for crying after every one of their pieces. I'm so beyond proud of them. Thank you, Lizzie, for setting the stage for why we tell stories and why this state in particular is such a special place to tell stories. So awesome job, Lizzie. I'm thrilled to welcome our second storyteller of the evening, who will be speaking from her own personal experience. The second of our 4 storytellers for tonight is from Fluvanna, is Maya Blackburn. Woo!
My Virginia is the starlit skies with lights dancing across the horizon. When the sun drifts away, handing over rain to the moon, that is what Virginia is to me. The morning glow seeping through the trees, sunlight catching the glimmers of frost on the grass, making a soft crunch as a creature steps on it, just to be quickly replaced by the birds, chirping at dawn, filling the world with their lovely songs. Deer prancing through the fields, flitting to and fro, happily as ever. Squirrels climbing in the branches just to, drop acorns on unsuspecting subjects. Acorns that will grow into trees. Beautiful trees with red leaves in autumn, red, orange, yellow, brown, until finally they fall, giving way to winter. Winter is when it snows like it should. Virginia and snow go well together, don't you think? The way it blankets the fields with a powdery film, like icing on a cake, because what would cake be without icing? Then it melts, leaving the ground damp, with little banks of resilient snow holding on fiercely to their last life, before fading softly into the earth to be seen again another day. Yet next is spring. Flowers bloom into the beauty and grace of a new year. In Virginia, everything is lush and plentiful, Rare are the times where there's not nature. That's the best thing about my state. Nature is everywhere. We are surrounded by the peaceful calm of the breeze, fluffy clouds and swirling leaves floating across the gusts of wind that stream through your hair, making you feel as if you're on top of the world. Summer in Virginia is just as breathtaking as winter. The rays of the sun are so sharp, shining through the deep cracks of the shadows, melting away the worries with the first light of dawn. Taking peaceful, long walks through the fields, heat beating along our backs. Dashing between the cool shade and the warm sun, a perfect balance of hot and cold in the late hours of the day. Then the sun sets, casting an array of colors throughout the sky, the most beautiful thing. And we're back to the stars, sparkling in the deep black of the night. The calm, crisp coolness of the night, invoking bliss on all who witness it. That is what Virginia is, calm, beautiful, serene. To me, my Virginia is peace. My Virginia is nature. My Virginia is beautiful.
Maya, I think you convinced me that summer in Virginia is beautiful and not sweltering and humid and sad. So thank you for that. I'm going to hold on to that for sure. I'm doubly thrilled to be here tonight, not just as someone who believes in the arts, but as a UVA alum myself, as a double who. It's especially powerful to me that this organization is connected to the University of Virginia. And I'm thrilled as a double who, as they say, to introduce the next speaker. The Robert C. Taylor Professor of English, the Executive Vice President and Provost of the University of Virginia. Maybe one day, Provost Baucom. The Executive Vice President and Provost of the University of Virginia, Ian Baucom.
So I don't know if that's a promotion or a demotion, but thanks, Jessica. Thanks to all of you. And particularly thanks to these extraordinary students. There really is nothing more that should be said or heard. In many ways, there's nothing more that should be heard or said than the words we've heard from them. I'm delighted to be here as we celebrate 50 years of Virginia Humanities. That is a remarkable span. 50 years is a long time, a time during which the importance of the humanities has never been lost. And tonight, for all of us, at a time at which the humanities have never been more important. Why is that? For boundless reasons to which every person in this room can attest. So let me name just one or two. From my perspective as a provost, as an English professor, and as a former director, something that was one of the greatest honors of my life, of the John Hope Franklin Humanities Institute at Duke University. I'm sorry about the Duke part. John Hope was an inspiration. As Jill Lepore and other scholars have reminded us, over the course of our history, universities have gone through three broad ways of knowing and thinking about the world. An era in which the key purpose of the university was tied to the idea of truth. We hold these truths, and in which the humanities and the arts were predominant. A subsequent era, beginning in the early to the middle 20th century, more attuned to uncovering the facts of the world, and the social sciences rose to prominence. And a third, more recent moment indexed to data, and the scientific, technical, and quantitative sciences. Truth, facts, data. Three orientations guiding the pursuit of knowledge and the disciplines and the architecture of the university. There is, to be sure, accuracy in that account, and I find it helpful. But it is also the case that truth and facts and data are intermingled, as are the arts and the humanities, the sciences and the social sciences. And the wonder of the advance of knowledge and the making of art is that we can pursue all at once, particularly as we do so in pursuit of knowledge and creative expression, both for their own sake and for the public good. The good of knowing history, where we have come from, as we know in this resonant space. And I thank you to everyone who has dedicated so much of their life, so much of their energy, so much of their passion, so much of their talent to this place. All who came before us in it, and all who will follow us. The good of knowing history, where we have come from and where we are going. The good of wrestling with what it means to inhabit one climate and technologically changed world, rich in the cultures and the poetries and the arts that help us make sense of that world and seek as best we can and as best we must to live in that one world together. As universities seek to do, and as Virginia Humanities has done for half a century, dedicating its work to the public good. Over all that time, the vibrancy and the urgency of the humanities, to borrow a word from my friend Sylvester, of our ways of making and knowing have persisted, and more than persisted. Because as the work of humanists and scientists, statisticians and engineers have become ever more urgently entangled over that time, and as the boundaries between the disciplines have increasingly fallen, the core types of question animating the arts and humanities have become ever more urgent. Questions less of how to solve a problem, of how to quantify the progress and the impacts of social change, than of why. Why does historical understanding matter? And Matthew, to follow your words, to what purpose and to what end? To what purpose and to what end are our knowing and our making dedicated? To what good are we committing ourselves? As we seek to understand all those urgent matters shaping our human and natural and planetary conditions, not only to measure the world, but to experience it, interpret it, be thrown into it, again, to take your words, to be moved by that world, to come to the heart of the truth of the matter.